Welcome to Product Master, Buick versus the competition for 1997. I'm Peter Carey, your host for this review of how each Buick brand matches up against its most important rivals. For this year's research, we brought 97 Buicks and their competitors to the General Motors Proving Ground at Milford, Michigan for 2 days of testing with our Product Master research team. Then we brought these 97 vehicles together again on the West Coast for further evaluation, where we'll visit with automotive consultant Bob Strange on location to share his insights and help differentiate one driving experience from the next. He'll also point out Buick advantages that you can share with your customers. As a special feature, we'll also go on location with Bob at a Lexus dealership to hear about the new 1997 SC300 and how it matches up against the 1997 Riviera. Along the way, we'll be giving you a closer look at the voice of the customer for each Buick brand. The voice of the customer represents the essential needs of buyers in each market segment. We'll use these customer needs as criteria for evaluating each matchup. Then they become a scorecard you can use to better understand and present each Buick brand's competitive strengths to your customers. Now let's get started with our first matchup, the 1997 Park Avenue versus the Chrysler LHS. Chrysler calls the LHS its flagship and puts heavy emphasis on the car's performance, engineering, and styling. But for prospects who want the latest in full-size luxury, Park Avenue delivers a number of advantages over the LHS, including a well-designed interior layout full of conveniences, a quieter, more comfortable ride with state-of-the-art body stiffness for exceptionally smooth road feel, plus the benefit of completely new styling. Both cars offer similar safety packages, dual airbags, ABS, and traction control. And in terms of performance, the horsepower and torque ratings are comparable, but the 3.5-liter overhead cam V6 on the LHS does have some weaknesses compared to Park Avenue's award-winning 3800 Series 2 V6. Most important is that the LHS's 24-valve engine design has significantly more parts than the pushrod-style 3800 Series 2, and that can mean greater friction losses. That's part of the reason why Park Avenue produces its power with an edge in both EPA-estimated city and highway mileage. Now let's talk comfort and convenience, another Park Avenue advantage. In standard features, LHS lives up to its luxury billing. Customers will find just about everything is here: speed-sensitive steering, a theft alarm, remote keyless entry, and much more. But Park Avenue provides a similar level of features and then takes luxury a step further, with extras that LHS buyers can't get, such as dual comfort temp for independent passenger climate settings, Passkey 3 theft deterrent, the personal choice personalized convenience and security features, and for added comfort, the new all belts to seat restraint system and theater seating for greater rear seat passenger comfort. Bob Strange found that the biggest differences between these two cars show up on the road.
The LHS seems to be trying to walk a line between luxury and sport, and quite honestly, in my opinion, I think it falls short on both accounts. For example, the instrument panel. It's obviously designed to look high-tech and sporty, but to me it's actually distracting and difficult to use. The message center up here is really nothing more than a series of telltale lights, and the heater controls are down so low they're very difficult to see at all. Conversely, the seats are more luxury oriented. For a car that's designed to have a sportier handling feel, the seats are very flat and unsupportive. You tend to slide around on them during corners. Now, from a ride standpoint, the LHS actually is fairly noisy, especially when you go over bumps. Every time you go over a bump, there's almost a thudding sound that you hear inside the LHS. Park Avenue's strong suit really is its smooth ride. It's a very smooth ride and very controlled handling. We didn't just notice this on the track, but even on expansion joints out on the highway it was very evident. Now overall, when you take into account both the ride and the noise factor, the Park Avenue enjoys a substantial advantage over the LHS.
It's a strong Park Avenue story, an especially well-equipped new interior, enhanced ride comfort and quiet, with state-of-the-art stiff body structure, V6 engine advantages, and a stately, eye-catching, completely new shape that makes LHS seem almost dated by comparison. For 1997, Lincoln has announced a one-price strategy for the luxurious Continental. Yet when comparing the all-new Park Avenue Ultra to the Continental, not only did we find a significant value advantage, but we also found advantages in balanced power, interior comfort and convenience, and ride quality due to Ultra's new world-class body stiffness. Continental features the Intech 4.6-liter V8, which produces an impressive 260 horsepower and 265 foot-pounds of torque. But the Series 2 supercharged V6 in Ultra actually offers more torque than the Continental's V8. And it manages to better Continental in EPA estimated fuel economy, both city and highway. Now, let's talk comfort and convenience. As an answer to Ultra's personal choice, Continental offers a memory profile system with driver-specific settings for steering effort, suspension stiffness, seat and mirror positions, and more. Nice features, but on Park Avenue Ultra, magnetic variable assist steering and Dynaride suspension systems adjust automatically to continuously provide optimum ride and handling. Plus, the Ultra offers exclusive luxuries and conveniences, like available steering wheel-mounted radio and climate controls, standard heated seats, the Driver Information Center, and the optional IQ head-up display. Ultra also gives the driver and front passenger the special comfort of a new all-belts-to-seat safety belt design. An important aspect of luxury comfort is interior space, and once again, the Ultra has a significant advantage over the Continental, with greater EPA interior volume, 2.5 inches more rear legroom, and more shoulder room front and rear. Now to Bob Strange for some Continental and Ultra road testing.
Now keep in mind that engine size isn't everything. For example, the Continental has a 4.6-liter V8 engine. This is obviously larger than the Ultra's 3800 Series 2 supercharged V6. However, the Ultra develops its horsepower and torque at much lower engine RPM. For example, the Ultra has 280 foot-pounds of torque at 3,600 RPM. The Continental V8 engine has only 265 foot-pounds of torque, and it develops it all the way up at 4,750 RPM. As a result of having this torque at the lower RPM, the Ultra actually feels much stronger from 0 to 40, where people really want to feel that acceleration. Now, from a handling standpoint, the Continental felt very good in corners on smoother surfaces. It has a very responsive steering. The steering is speed sensitive, feels very good. However, on bumpy surfaces, there's a front-end vibration that really detracts or degrades the ride and the handling of the Continental. On the other hand, the Ultra felt very controlled and stable over these same bumpy surfaces. And this has a lot to do with the Ultra's new stiffer body structure. Now, this body structure also has a lot to do with how the Ultra just feels overall. It's a much tighter, more solid feel than it's been in the past.
So, with its balanced power, roomier interior, and smooth ride and road manners, Ultra gives your customers more of everything luxury car buyers are looking for. And despite the Lincoln's new lower MSRP, Ultra still features a list price that's almost $2,300 less than Continental. Buick LeSabre, 1996 Best Large Car Total Value, 1996 Best Value Large Cars, 1996 First for Safety. Let's see how the 1997 model measures up against Grand Marquis. We discovered both cars have strengths in performance and convenience, with LeSabre enjoying an edge in comfort, standard safety, and when you consider the whole package, overall value for the money. Grand Marquis' power plant is a 4.6-liter V8 that actually produces less horsepower than the LeSabre V6. Grand Marquis does enjoy a sizable torque advantage, but comparing torque curves, we see that the Marquis doesn't enjoy the same smooth acceleration as the LeSabre. It also doesn't benefit from V6 efficiencies, that allow the LeSabre to achieve substantially better EPA estimated city and highway mileage. Now, when it comes to conveniences, Grand Marquis' standard feature list is impressive. You'll find a few nice features like a power driver's seat on the GS and the auto lamp feature, which turns the headlamps on and off automatically by sensing outside light levels. LeSabre responds with the Twilight Sentinel, added safety of automatic daytime running lamps, plus features Grand Marquis buyers won't find, such as available personal choice, the Passkey 2 theft deterrent system, and available dual automatic comfort tent. Now, let's go to Bob Strange to see how these cars' performance characteristics differ.
There's a big personality difference between the Grand Marquis that we have here and the LeSabre. Grand Marquis is the old full-size design. It's designed to isolate you from everything around you. The LeSabre is a modern design that really is much more in touch with the road. It allows the driver to really feel what's going on. Now, from a handling standpoint, the Grand Marquis has a very low steering effort. Steering's very easy to turn. The suspension is designed to give you a very cushy, soft feel. Interestingly enough, though, even with the soft feel, there's very little body roll in the Grand Marquis. But the key word here is isolation. It's designed to isolate you from everything going on. In comparison, we felt the Dynaride suspension on the LeSabre really was much more responsive to the road surface and to the driver. It gave you a much tighter feel. You didn't feel as isolated from the vehicle. It was much more responsive. You felt very in control, and the vehicle itself felt very stable during all maneuvers. Now, another good example of contrasting design philosophies between these two cars is in the seats. The seats in the Grand Marquis are very soft, very plush. They feel great when you first get in them, but on a long trip they can be pretty fatiguing. On the other hand, the seats in the LeSabre are much more firm. When you first get in them, they may feel a little stiff, but the support is definitely there to make it much more comfortable. Again, on a longer trip, you're going to feel a lot better at the end of that trip. Now, there are merits to both of these car designs, but the customer really has a distinct difference to choose from. They can choose between the older, more plush and soft design of the Grand Marquis and the much more contemporary, driver-oriented design of the LeSabre.
One more important difference deserves a mention when you're talking full-sized family safety and value. Four-wheel anti-lock brakes, a standard feature on LeSabre, are an option costing $670 on Grand Marquis. Overall, Grand Marquis is a strong performer, but LeSabre stands up to Grand Marquis' larger V8, provides a comparable list of standard conveniences, and shows an edge in comfort and better standard safety. Plus, when you add an important feature like ABS to Grand Marquis' almost identical base MSRP, you find a LeSabre price advantage that amounts to stronger family value. That's how LeSabre keeps its promise to deliver real peace of mind. Toyota Avalon and Buick LeSabre are fairly even in convenience, and both offer very wide arrays of standard safety features. But LeSabre has the edge in comfort, performance, ride and handling, and with a lower MSRP, value. Avalon is actually Toyota's full-size entry, but notice how very similar it looks to the mid-size Toyota Camry. LeSabre, on the other hand, has a distinctive full-size style, and inside it has the comfortable advantage of full-size roominess, with advantages in front and rear shoulder room and rear leg room. LeSabre's split bench front seat also provides standard room for 6 adults. Avalon comes with front buckets, with seating room for 5. A split bench front seat is an added cost option of $820. On the performance front, Avalon is powered by a standard 3-liter 24-valve V6, but LeSabre's 3800 Series 2 V6 holds the edge in both horsepower and torque. Let's find out what else Bob Strange learned about how these two rivals perform.
We've already talked about the LeSabre road manners. Keep that in mind as we discuss the Avalon. First of all, from a ride standpoint, the Avalon has a relatively stiff ride. It's very controllable over the bumps, but it's noticeably stiffer than the LeSabre. Now, you would think, based on that stiffer ride, that the handling would be fairly good on the Avalon, and frankly, it's just not the case. The handling's very inconsistent. It's got a slow response, and you always feel like you have to keep correcting in the middle of the corner to get the Avalon to go exactly where you want it. The feel is very different than the LeSabre. I think you'll find the LeSabre to be much more balanced, more forgiving than the Avalon is from a handling standpoint. The interior of the Avalon is definitely its strong suit. The controls are very ergonomic, very easy to see and to use. Very comparable to the LeSabre, which also has very easy to use radio and climate controls. Now overall, I really prefer the feel of the LeSabre to the Avalon, especially when you take into account the Avalon seats. Similar to most Japanese imports, the seats in the Avalon have a very stiff, firm feel to them and really don't offer a lot of comfort.
Both LeSabre and Avalon are well equipped, high on safety and convenience, and share a strong reputation for quality. But LeSabre holds the edge in overall comfort and roominess, performance, and ride and handling. And it has an MSRP that's $2,000 less than Avalon's. The Nissan Altima XE was named Best Midsize under $20,000 in the 96 J.D. Power Initial Quality Study. Yet we found significant Skylark advantages over the Altima in road manners, comfort and convenience, safety, and value for the money. Skylark proves you don't have to pay a premium price to drive a premium-equipped compact. First, let's hear about Skylark's ride advantage from Bob Strange.
The Altima has a reputation and a feel of a very high-quality car. However, the test drivers out at the track were quite honestly disappointed in its performance. It has a slow, what I like to call non-linear steering response. That is, there's a hesitation. When you turn the steering wheel, the car does not respond right away. You almost have to wait for it to respond. You have to anticipate this while you're driving the vehicle. It's very disconcerting. Now, quite honestly, this slow response was totally unexpected because of the aggressive nature of the suspension on the Altima. It has a very stiff suspension, and over the bumps it's almost harsh, feels almost like an economy car. On the other hand, the Skylark is actually more responsive and predictable from a handling standpoint, and it's smoother over the bumps. You've got the best of both worlds here. Combined with the ride and handling, the more comfortable interior of the Skylark really gives you a more premium feel. Overall, the Altima was very disappointing in terms of its overall performance, considering its reputation.
Bob talked about Skylark's edge in ride and comfort. Now let's talk about convenience and value. Power locks, standard on Skylark, are not available on Altima. Air conditioning is also an extra cost option on Altima. The convenience of an automatic transmission, standard in Skylark, is an option costing $830 on Altima. And for security's sake, Skylark has the standard pass lock theft deterrent. Altima buyers get nothing like it. Also standard on Skylark, not even available on Altima, is the anti-slip protection of traction control. Finally, in the crucial area of safety, four-wheel anti-lock brakes are standard on Skylark. On Altima, they're an option that adds almost $1,000 to Altima XE's MSRP. And despite Altima's high quality rating, we found a few chinks in the armor, like these door edge guards that pull off easily. In performance, Nissan Altima and Skylark are very evenly matched. They both have 2.4-liter dual overhead cam engines, L4 in Skylark, I4 in Altima, with nearly identical horsepower and torque. But the real story here is value. Though the engines are the same size, Skylark delivers higher EPA estimated fuel economy, both city and highway. No question, Altima XE is a strong competitor with a quality reputation, but Skylark Custom delivers so much more. Premium ride, comfort, convenience, and safety features for almost exactly the same base MSRP. Add an automatic transmission, air conditioning, and anti-lock brakes, and a comparably equipped Altima XE costs over $2,400 more than Skylark Custom. Skylark truly is a premium car in everything but price. The Mercury Mystique LS impressed our product master research team for its handling and well-organized interior layout. But once again, we found Skylark advantages in performance, comfort and convenience, safety, and value. Mystique's standard power comes from a 2-liter i4 engine, which falls short of Skylark's 2.4-liter twin-cam engine in both horsepower and torque. Drop in Mystique's optional Duratec V6 and Skylark's optional 3100 V6, and power numbers even out. Except that the Duratec adds $1,200 to the Mystique price versus $395 for the 3100 V6. Before we look at the convenience and value story, Bob has a report on the performance and ride impressions.
Quite honestly, we were very impressed with the handling of the Mystique. It's a very well-engineered car, and out on the track, it was very responsive, especially in the tighter corners. Now, there's a price to be paid for this aggressive handling. We noticed that the Mystique tends to wander a little bit over the bumps. With a stiff suspension like this, the tires tend to follow the bumps instead of stepping over them. We also noticed somewhat of a jarring ride over the bumps as well. From a comfort standpoint, it's a little stiffer. Now, with the Skylark, it has a much more comfortable suspension. It absorbed the bumps quite a bit better, but it was still very controllable from a handling standpoint. Now, from an acceleration standpoint, there's more than sufficient acceleration on both of these vehicles for buyers in this market. However, the Skylark does have advantages on paper in terms of both horsepower and torque. One thing we noticed in the Mystique 4-cylinder engine was a distinct hesitation every time you jumped on the throttle, every time you accelerated. To me, this really detracted from its overall performance.
In this matchup, we also have a great story on standard safety. First, because ABS is a $570 option on Mystique, and traction control is not even offered on Mystique. Both are standard on Skylark. And like the Nissan Altima, Mystique LS has nothing to compare to Skylark's standard pass-lock theft deterrent. Let's review the list of features that are standard on the loaded Skylark Limited, but extra cost options on the top-of-the-line Mystique LS. Air conditioning, power windows and locks, electronic cruise control, all extremely popular with your customers. Even in drivetrain, Skylark shows its premium character. An automatic transmission is standard. But on Mystique LS, it adds $815 to the MSRP. As Bob noted, the Mystique showed impressive handling, but Skylark takes this head-to-head hands down with better standard engine performance, better ride, a big lead in standard comfort and convenience features, and an edge in standard safety and security features. Finally, there's Skylark value advantage. Start with base MSRPs. Then add to Mystique's price the cost of anti-lock brakes, an automatic transmission, air conditioning, cruise control, power windows and locks, and you arrive at a $1,452 difference in Skylark's favor, for a convincing edge in overall value. Lincoln Marquis comes to 1997 with a slightly modified look, some compelling additions to the standard feature list, and a new lower base sticker price. But let's see how the 97 Mark stands up to the 1997 Riviera in critical areas for the luxury coupe customer: styling, ride and handling, performance, comfort and convenience, and value for the investment. Start with styling. For 1997, Lincoln Mark 8 features a reshaped front end with a more prominent hood and a reshaped grille. But compare the restyled Mark to the more expressive and distinctive Riviera, which 2 years after it was introduced still turns heads with its distinguished appearance. Mark 8 definitely holds the edge in standard power, featuring a 4.6-liter overhead cam V8 that turns out 280 horsepower and 285 foot-pounds of torque. But equip the Riviera with the available 3800 Series 2 supercharged engine, and the performance contest really tightens up. Both these cars are long on the standard conveniences that a luxury buyer expects, plus some innovations that delight owners, like Mark 8's Auto Glide feature. It moves the seat and steering wheel automatically to make it easier to get into and out of the car. But the comfort advantage belongs to Riviera, with genuine room for 5 or even 6 adults with the bench seat, and nearly 5 inches more legroom in the rear. Now, out to Bob Strange for the perspective on power and ride and handling.
Now, there's no question that the Mark VIII emphasizes power and performance. Interestingly enough, though, when you add the supercharged engine to the Riviera, you have comparable performance to the Mark VIII. In fact, supercharged engines have a characteristic of developing their torque at very low RPM. It gives you excellent off-the-line acceleration. Now, from a cornering standpoint, on smooth surfaces, the Mark VIII does a great job. It's very nimble, very responsive on smoother surfaces. However, the Mark VIII air spring suspension created almost a side-to-side rocking motion over the bumps. It also generated some noise inside the car that was very disconcerting for a luxury automobile. Now, the Riviera is definitely more of a luxury coupe that strikes a real balance between ride and handling. From a handling standpoint, it is relatively soft, but it's very stable. And from a ride standpoint, it does a much better job of soaking up bumps without all that vibration that was in the Mark VIII. Now, I would really encourage prospects to compare these two cars. There is definitely a big difference that you can feel and hear, and I think it will really make the Riviera stand out even more.
So let's recap what we've learned. Riviera continues to offer more expressive styling and an exceptionally smooth ride thanks in part to its world-class body stiffness. Mark VIII does have a performance edge, but only against Riviera's standard engine. Riviera has a substantial advantage in comfort with a roomier back seat. And keep in mind the issue of value, always a consideration for your customers. Despite a drop in Mark VIII's base MSRP, the base MSRP of the already loaded 97 Riviera is $7,000 less. Still about $6,000 less with the 3800 Series 2 supercharged under the hood. Against a very compelling new Mark VIII, that's a huge selling advantage that every Riviera prospect can appreciate. Our final matchup is Riviera versus the restyled Lexus SC300. Now, due to its delayed mid-November release date, we weren't able to cover the SC300 at the GM Proving Grounds or in our West Coast research. So instead, we're bringing you a special final installment with Bob Strange on location at a Lexus dealership to provide first-hand knowledge about the new SC300 for 1997 and how it compares against the 1997 Riviera.
The 1997 Lexus SC300 appears to be going to an even sportier market than before with a number of styling changes. For example, the front end has been redesigned with a new grille and a different look for the fog lights and the headlights. There's an integrated side mudguard down along the rocker panel, and there's still the optional wing-type spoiler in the back for an even sportier appearance. Now, one thing that Lexus has always done with the SC300 is that they have a standard 5-speed manual transmission instead of an automatic, and obviously this again is for a more sporty focus. Now, for 1997 there are no engine changes, nor are there any suspension changes, so the SC300 continues to have a very taut and precise ride, and this is mainly due to its sport-tuned suspension and speed-sensitive steering. Now, one thing about the SC300, even in the front seat, there's almost a closed-in, cramped type of feeling in this car. And cramped doesn't even begin to explain the back seat. As small as the back seats are, this car is practically a two-seater. I'm 5'10", and with the front seats in my proper driving position, you can see how little legroom there is in the back seat. Now, overall, I think the Riviera really offers a better balance between the coupe type feel and the luxury that people are really looking for in this market segment. Now, we've already reviewed the Riviera performance. You know, it has very precise response. It has a real aggressive feel of a personal coupe. Inside, there's more overall room, and it gives a much more relaxed feeling for both the driver and the passengers. Now, I have one final thought. While the SC300 seems to be geared towards a more sports coupe-minded audience, when you put the supercharged engine in the Riviera actually matches up very well with the SC300 and has a huge advantage in engine torque.
Let's look closer at the performance story. The SC300 features a 3-liter dual overhead cam V6, which turns out 225 horsepower and 210 foot-pounds of torque. That gives SC300 a slight edge in standard horsepower and Riviera an edge in torque. But Riviera also peaks at lower RPM, so its engine can deliver that power more quickly. Plus, as Bob noted, with the available 3800 Series 2 supercharged engine, the Riviera offers 280 foot-pounds of torque for a substantial edge. As for overall convenience, these two coupes are very well equipped. For $1997, Lexus adds a drive monitor that reports average speed, fuel economy, and outside temperature. Yet Riviera offers exclusive conveniences an SC300 buyer can't get, like dual comfort temp for passenger climate control, personal choice, plus available conveniences such as steering wheel mounted radio and climate controls and more. The comfort story is no contest. Customers can discover Riviera's interior for themselves, but the big news is roominess, or should I say lack of it in the case of an SC300's very small rear compartment. Riviera offers an incredible 10 inches more legroom, 5 more in rear shoulder room, and 13 inches of additional rear hip room. Then there's the issue of price. With an automatic transmission, the SC300 costs over $40,000. The Riviera starts under $31,000. And even if you add the optional supercharged engine, you still have a price advantage of over $8,000. Let's take a final look at this matchup. Both coupes have attractive styling, excellent ride and handling, and more than sufficient performance for this market. But the Riviera enjoys significant advantages in comfort, with a roomier interior, convenience, with many features SC300 buyers can't get, and value, with a base MSRP 20% lower than SC300. It truly is a more well-balanced car for individuals looking for aggressive coupe styling without sacrificing luxury and comfort. Well, that's our final matchup in this segment of Buick versus the competition. Let's go to Bob Strange for some final thoughts.
Overall, Peter, I think all of the Buicks really excelled in a few areas. Those areas were in terms of ride, interior layout, and seating comfort. In fact, the more time I spent in the Buicks, the more comfortable they really became. Now, we've really covered a wide range of the market segment. And again, in my opinion, I think all of the Buicks really covered their market segment very well. They fit the needs of that particular segment. If you listen to the customer and put them in the right Buick, I can just about guarantee you that that particular car will meet the needs of that customer.
As Bob noted, the 1997 Buick lineup represents a tremendous opportunity to satisfy a wide variety of customer needs. For more information on the 1997 Buick lineup, look for Product Master releases in January on the all-new 1997 Century and in early spring on the all-new 1997.5 Regal. For Bob Strange and the entire Product Master team, I'm Peter Carey, wishing you success with the entire family of distinctive Buick brands in 1997.